All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49ers Eagles Week 13 preview brought to you by Mojo Fantasy. Check out Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description and type in the promo code Krug, and they will match you up to your first $100. And everybody who does automatically is entered into a drawing to win a Purdy or a Bosa jersey. Now, you can do the same as me, or you can make your own picks. This week in Mojo Fantasy, I'm going with Jalen Hurts with an anytime touchdown. Jalen Hurts under 1.5 passing touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey with an anytime touchdown. Deebo Samuel with an anytime touchdown. And Devontae Smith over 56.5 receiving yards. Good luck to everybody this week in Mojo Fantasy. All right, let's talk a little bit about the matchup. Niners and Eagles in Philadelphia. The 49ers roll in as 3-point favorites. This game's going to be interesting on a lot of fronts. The first thing, let's talk about the Niners on the offensive side of the ball. Can they protect Brock Purdy? They couldn't in the last game. And Hassan Reddick grabbed his elbow on a throw and basically ripped it out of the socket and caused Purdy's season to end. This is going to be the big question on offense. Can Colton McKivitz handle Hassan Reddick? Now, it's a bad matchup for McKivitz. McKivitz prefers bigger, slower, powerful defensive ends. Hassan Reddick's 240 pounds and lightning fast. And he has been one of the NFL's best pass rushers and has become one of the NFL's best pass rushers in Philadelphia. Now, Trent Williams is going to have his hands full with Sweat on the other side, but McKivitz and Reddick is going to be one of the key battles to watch for sure. And, last year, Reddick got the upper hand against the 49ers, and that was all it took for the Eagles to win that game. But can the Niners protect Brock Purdy? Now, hopefully Purdy can get the ball out quickly to guys like Christian McCaffrey and exploit some mismatches against the Eagles' very thin linebacking core. McCaffrey's the NFL's leading rusher. He's scored in 3 straight games. All of them have been wins after his 17 touchdown streak got snapped. But for Brock Purdy, it's really about get the ball out fast with accuracy and don't let Philadelphia's rush, get to you. Philly's got a really good rush. Reddick and Josh Sweat off the edges are forces. Jalen Carter's enormously explosive inside. Is Fletcher Cox going to go or not? He's got a groin issue, but even if he doesn't go, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams are really, really good. John Feliciano is most likely going to start at right guard. He faced the Eagles 3 times last year while with the Giants. Chris Forster told me that Feliciano's advantage on Burford is that he's a little bit more trustworthy as a pass protector. And so there you go. And he's got the veteran experience. So that's the big first question. Can the Niners protect Brock Purdy? Or is he going to be running for his life? And that's number one. Got to be able to protect Brock Purdy. For the 49ers, let's flip it over. The other side of the ball. Can they get to and bother Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts has played really, really well. He's got 11 rushing touchdowns. That brotherly shove play, the short yardage run play that they often run in the A-gap between Jason Kelce and the left guard Landon Dickerson has been enormously successful. 11 rushing touchdowns for Hurts, 8 of them on this tush push, which is basically like a quarterback sneak. So, the Niners last year, really struggled to stop this play. I don't know if they can stop it now. The key might just be what you do on first and second down and don't let the Eagles get into, that 3rd and 3 range where the tush push becomes viable. They've proven that they will run it almost in any part of the field unless they're inside their own 15-yard line. And can the 49ers with, high cut Eric Armstead, pass rushing Javon Hargrave, high cut Javon Kinlaw, can they have any success at all anchoring against Hurts in that brotherly shove and negating that play? Or can they win on first and second down and stay out of harm's way when it comes to defending that play? I I mean, that really is the question right there. How can the 49ers stop that play? Now, it is interesting as far as turnovers. I do think turnovers are going to be advantage 49ers. Jalen Hurts has fumbled in 5 straight games, and he's lost 3 of those to the other teams. So he has fumbled. The Niners have recovered opponents' fumbles in 4 straight games on their side, and they've totaled 4 interceptions and 9 total takeaways in the last 4 games. So I like the 49ers to produce a turnover or two. I don't know that the Niners can stop the tush push. I'm not even sure that the Niners can stop the Eagles' run game, but I think the 49ers can take the ball away from Philadelphia. The Niners lead the NFL with 15 interceptions. It wasn't that long ago, like only 5 years ago, that they only had 2 interceptions for the entirety of the 2018 season. And here they are. They've got 15 interceptions. They're plus 11. The 49ers are in turnover differential. That's the best in the league, tied with the Steelers. And Jalen Hurts has already thrown a single season career high 10 interceptions for Philly. Philly's got 16 turnovers and 14 takeaways. So they're -2 in turnover ratio. 16 turnovers, 14 takeaways. It's a lot of turnovers. And I think the 49ers will be able to get one in this game. Now, one area that I do not think is going to be an issue for the Niners is I don't think they're going to be overconfident, despite the fact that they are the favorite. And it's very bizarre. For the first time in the last 20 years, the Eagles are the first 10-1 or 10-1 record team to be an underdog playing at home. And they like that spot. Sirianni said it. He said this city plays the underdog well role, and he cited Rocky and Apollo Creed. Going back to the Rocky movies, the Niners have not been underdogs all season, and they haven't been an actual underdog since they went to Philly last year for the NFC Championship game. And Philly was favored last year by 2.5. This year, in most places, it's 49ers by 2.5 or 3. So the Niners have always had high expectations on the road. They were favored by at least a touchdown in back-to-back defeats at Cleveland and at Minnesota in the month of October. They won last week in Seattle 31-13, despite the fact that that was the biggest spread of the year, Niners -7 in their last 23 visits to Lumen. That's been the hugest point spread. So Shanahan said, I don't understand why, the spread is what it is, but I don't think the 49ers are going to look at that spread and roll in overconfident. They know how good Philly is, and Philly's really, really good. The other big question in this game is who's going to play best in the fourth quarter with the pressure on the line. Almost assuredly, this is going to be a close game. Some people see the 49ers winning a one-sided game. Some Eagles fans are claiming it's going to be a blowout. I think most people believe this game is going to be a tight game in the fourth quarter. And, the Eagles are an interesting team coming into this game because they did play 92 snaps last week against Buffalo, and they played 72 the week before against Kansas City. So they're not necessarily the most rested team, and you wonder how they're going to look in the fourth quarter of this game. The 49ers, if you look at the 49ers, they are, want to run the ball and will probably try to establish the run. The Eagles are allowing the NFL's third fewest rushing yards per game at 85.3. The Niners are actually second. They only give up 82 yards. But, who can run the ball in the fourth quarter? Can the Niners run it on Philly better, or can Philly run it on the Niners better? And then there's that Shanahan stat. The Niners are 0-37 when down 8 points or more under Kyle Shanahan dating back to 2017. So what happens if the 49ers fall behind? Can they come back in the fourth quarter? I mean, that is a major, major question. And, if you look at the Eagles, on the other hand, they've been great in the fourth quarter. They've rallied from halftime deficits in their past 4 games. And they oftentimes do it behind a passing attack where they've got 2 true number 1 wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. There's no question that Hurts plays in the second half with tremendous confidence. He takes avenues, running lanes when they're there. That's really the big question. Can the Niners control Hurts with the game on the line? And I don't know that they can. It's going to be absolutely a massive challenge for the 49ers to see if they can, control Jalen Hurts with the game on the line. The Niners have a team that's the youngest quarterback kicker tandem in all of football with Brock Purdy and um, Jake Moody. So what do you got? I mean, you've got a kicker that's inexperienced. You got a quarterback that's inexperienced. We'll see how they do in the fourth quarter. Um, Also, I think a key factor is how does either quarterback play in the last couple minutes of the half? Purdy's completion percentage drops in the last 2 minutes of halves from 70% to down to 55%. His quarterback rating falls from 111 to 71. And then you look at Jalen Hurts in the last 2 minutes of a half, he's completing 70% of his passes at a passer rating of 84.4. So that's interesting. I think the key in this game is for the 49ers to jump out early. They're a much better team when they get a lead. In fact, the Niners lead the NFL with 9 scores on their opening drive. 8 of them are touchdowns. Philly's only scored 2 first half touchdowns in their last 2 games. And their offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, it'll be interesting to see. Do they come out running the ball against the 49ers or do they come out throwing it? But I think the 49ers scoring early and getting a lead definitely has to be one of the keys for the 49ers. The other key for the 49ers is do not commit penalties on offense or defense, but really on offense. When the Niners commit a penalty on offense on first down, they fail to get a first down 73% of the time. It automatically becomes a drive killer. So the Niners O-line could be a little bit overmatched against this Philly D-line. Do they get flagged for multiple holding calls or false starts? If the Eagles somehow can get the 49ers behind the chains, that is going to be a real impactful a factor in this game. The other impact is, can the 49er young DBs, Niners have 5 young DBs, can they play with poise against 2 number 1 wide receivers? A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are excellent receivers with hands and ball skills and speed and run after the catch ability. They're really, really talented as a duo. And can the Niners play with poise on the ball in the air? If the Niners O-line and secondary, commit a lot of penalties, that's a major advantage for the Eagles. I do think the 49ers are going to have some success running it. Why? Because Zach Cunningham is out. Fletcher Cox is likely to either be out or be less than 100%. And I just really think that the Niners can have success running it. And if you look at where will they run it, well, I mean, you might want to think in the middle if there's no Cox and no Cunningham. But Philly's Josh Sweat has been very inconsistent in sealing that defensive left edge against the run. And the Niners lived there with Trent Williams paving, or the offensive left, the defensive right side, which is the left side of the Niner offensive line, which is Trent Williams paving the way for Christian McCaffrey. So, it's what's going to be really interesting in this game is, can the 49er D line stand up to that Eagle offensive line? In the last matchup, they couldn't. In this matchup, they need to, or it's going to be a very, very difficult game to win. And then as far as where's the Niners' real advantage, I think their real advantage is their weapons against the Eagles' pass defense. The Eagle pass defense is one of the worst in football. George Kittle should have his way with Kevin Byard in the passing game. Byard plays off his man to try to limit run after the catch yardage, but he gives up a lot of catches underneath. Keeps things in front of him. He doesn't give up tons of yards, but lots of catches. And I think Kittle's going to be open against Byard much of the day. The other area I think you got to look for is the middle of the field. Brock Purdy loves the middle of the field, and Philly's advantage up front is that they've got Reddick and Jalen Carter, and they've got some mismatches up front. Reddick's got 8.5 sacks. Jalen Carter's enormously quick. Sean Desai, the Eagles defensive coordinator, said we have a good plan. We will have a good plan corralling Purdy and getting tight on some of those routes, so we can contest some of the throws that he makes. But I mean, if you look at it, you got Brandon Ayuk facing off against Darius Slay. You got Deebo Samuel matched up against James Bradbury. Bradbury will cheat to get an interception, but I think Ayuk or Deebo are going to win in the middle of the field. I think that's really where the Niners have a major advantage. Um, I think that the Niners can complete passes in the middle of the field. I also think Christian McCaffrey's going to have another great game. Philly struggles to set the left edge in the run game, and their linebackers and safeties are really slow in pass coverage. And I think the Niners are going to have success running wide and passing in the short to intermediate area in the middle of the field. And so those are the two areas I think you're going to see the 49ers. Um, I think they're going to wind up playing a clean game. And I think the Niners are going to wind up jumping out to an early lead and holding on. So I think it's going to be 24-7 49ers early. I think the Eagles will score a couple touchdowns and threaten. I think it's 24-21 late in the fourth quarter. And I'm going to say that the hero of the game is the rookie safety, Jair Brown, who steps in front of a Jalen Hurts pass, intercepts it, and gives the 49ers a 3-point win. I'll say Niners win it 24-21. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And of course, thanks to Mojo Fantasy for being the sponsor of this video. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.